Before I start, I need to ask you something. Have you ever been somewhere that felt wrong but you couldn't explain why? Not dangerous, not loud, not even threatening. Just wrong. If you have, then you'll understand why I'm recording this. And if you haven't, you will. But before I tell you what happened in those mountains, do me a favor. Subscribe if you want more stories like this. And when I'm done, leave a comment telling me what you would have done in my position, because by the end of this, you're going to realize something uncomfortable. You might not have made it out. This started in October 2021. I was Staff Sergeant Daniel Mercer, 33 years old, attached to a rapid response recovery unit operating out of Joint Base Lewis McChord. Our job wasn't combat. It wasn't rescue either. It was containment. When something crashed that wasn't supposed to crash, when a team went missing somewhere inconvenient, when official paperwork needed to be rewritten, we went in. Most missions were routine. Recover debris, secure sensitive material, keep civilians out, file a clean report, nothing supernatural, nothing dramatic. Until the day Major Caldwell walked into our training hangar looking like he hadn't slept in a week. He didn't call us to attention, didn't brief us in the conference room. He just said, "Gear for cold weather, wheels up in 90. That was it. No mission details, no objective, just cold weather. We were in Washington State. Cold weather meant mountains, and mountains meant something went very wrong. I followed him outside. "Sir, what are we walking into?" He stared at me for a long moment. His eyes weren't scared. They were conflicted. "You're not walking into anything," he said quietly. "You're walking after something." That's when I knew this wasn't routine. He handed me a sealed folder. No operation name, no timeline, no standard headers. Just one line printed across the top. Recovery, Parietal fascia, minimal disclosure. Inside were satellite images of the northern Cascades. Dense forest, rugged terrain, snow pockets already settling into the higher elevations, and in the center of one image was a dark clearing. Too clean, too symmetrical, like something impressed down into the forest from above. "What am I looking at?" I asked. "Last radar contact from a charter aircraft," Caldwell said. 9 souls on board, 2 pilots, 7 passengers. Search and rescue." He hesitated. "That was 2 days ago." Something in his tone made my stomach tighten. "What happened to the SAR teams?" He didn't answer directly. "They're being evaluated." 4. He met my eyes. Psychological distress. I'd heard that phrase before. It usually meant something they saw broke them. "Sir," I said carefully, "what aren't you telling me?" He leaned closer. "I don't have the clearance to know the rest." That scared me more than anything else he could have said. We loaded up within the hour. My team consisted of 5 others. Lieutenant Avery Cole, field medic, sharp, calm under pressure. Corporal Luis Ramirez's communications specialist, quiet, observant. Sergeant Mark Hollis, weapons and demolitions. Private Evan Brooks, youngest of us, smart, eager, too eager. And then there was Specialist Jonah Keene. Keene didn't belong to my unit. He was attached to us that morning without explanation. No background file, no operational history. Just a note that said, "Clearance verified. Do not inquire." I tried anyway. "Keene," I said over the engine noise as we lifted off. "What's your specialty?" He didn't look at me. Observation. That's vague. It's meant to be. That was the last voluntary sentence he gave me for hours. The flight north took 3 hours. The deeper we pushed into the mountains, the worse the weather got. Snow flurries. Thick cloud cover. Radio static. Ramirez kept adjusting frequencies. Signal interference, he muttered. Doesn't make sense this far out. How bad? I asked. He looked uneasy, like something's bouncing the signal back at us. That didn't make sense either. Mountains disrupt signals. They don't reflect them with precision. When we finally descended, it wasn't to a proper base. It was a temporary forward site carved into a clearing 5 miles south of the crash coordinates. Floodlights, tents, portable radar arrays, and armed personnel who looked like they'd rather be anywhere else. Colonel Darius Whitmore met us on the ground. His handshake was firm. His eyes were bloodshot. "You're the last team going in," he said without preamble. "Last?" Cole asked. Whitmore ignored her. 2 civilian SAR units, 1 National Guard recon, and a private security detail contracted by the aircraft owners. "And," I pressed, "civilians were airlifted out, non-responsive. Guard team lost contact 6 hours in. Security detail transmitted partial footage before comms dropped." "Footage of what?" He studied me carefully. "Of survivors." That should have been good news. But his tone said it wasn't. "What's wrong with the survivors?" Brooks asked. Whitmore didn't blink. "They were dead when the first team found them." Silence fell over us. Snow drifted across the floodlights. Somewhere beyond the tree line, the mountains stretched into darkness. Whitmore stepped closer. "You have 48 hours. Locate the crash site, assess, recover anything that shouldn't be there." "Shouldn't be there?" Hollis repeated. Whitmore's jaw tightened. "If you don't report back by then, we're sealing the valley." "How?" I asked. He didn't answer. But the way he glanced toward the row of parked fuel air bomb containers told me enough. We moved out at 2100 hours. The forest swallowed us almost immediately. Dense pine, thick undergrowth, snow crunching under boots. No wind, no animal sounds, just our breathing. After 20 minutes, Brooks whispered, "Anyone else notice how quiet it is?" He was right. No birds, no insects, nothing. Ramirez stopped walking. "Sergeant," he said softly, staring at his handheld monitor. "What is it?" "The thermal sweep." I stepped beside him. Ahead of us, maybe 150 meters into the trees, were clusters of cold spots. Not normal cold, not snow. Absolute voids. Black holes on the screen. Moving, slowly circling. Around us. Keene finally spoke. "They've noticed we're here." I turned toward him. "Who's they?" He looked past me into the darkness. "You'll see." And that's when we heard it. A voice, soft, weak, from deeper in the forest. "Hello?" It sounded like a woman. "Is someone there?" Cole froze. "That's human," she whispered. But something about it felt wrong. The rhythm, the tone, like someone reading lines without understanding them. "Please," the voice called again. And this time, it came from 2 different directions at once. If you think that's the worst, it's not. Because that was just the beginning, and by the time we reached the crash site, one of us was already gone. The voice didn't scream. It didn't cry. It didn't even sound panicked. That's what made it wrong. "Please," it said again, softer this time. "We're hurt. We can't move." The words were clear. The tone was almost perfect. But it was like listening to someone imitate fear instead of actually feeling it. We stood frozen in the snow-dusted forest, lights cutting narrow beams through the trees. Standard rescue protocol, Lieutenant Cole whispered. We respond. Keen's hand shot out and grabbed her arm before she could step forward. No, he said. It wasn't loud, but it carried weight. Why not? Hollis asked, rifle raised. Keen's eyes never left the darkness. Because it's testing distance. Ramirez checked his thermal again. They're still there, he said. Cold spots, maybe 12 now. No 15. The numbers kept shifting. And then the voice moved. Not physically. Not like footsteps crunching in snow. The sound itself just changed position. Now it came from our right. Please, we can see your lights. Brooks turned quickly, sweeping his beam across the trees. Nothing. No heat signature where the voice originated. No footprints. No movement. But on thermal, the cold voids had shifted closer. They were forming a loose circle around us. Defensive formation, I ordered. We moved automatically, backs inward, rifles out. My pulse was steady, but my instincts were screaming. Something wasn't just out there. It was studying us. The voice called again. Except this time. There were two of them, perfectly synchronized. Same tone, same breathing, same pause between words. Please, we're hurt. Cole swallowed hard. That's not possible. No, Keen said quietly. It is. The forest felt tighter. Closer, like the trees had leaned inward while we weren't looking. Ramirez's monitor flickered. Sergeant, they're closing the gap. 20 meters. Still nothing visible. Then Brooks whispered, movement. Directly ahead, just beyond the reach of our lights, a shape stepped forward. At first glance, it looked human. A woman, mid-30s maybe. Clothing torn, hair matted, barefoot in snow. She stumbled slightly as she walked toward us. Stop, I shouted. Identify yourself! She stopped, her head tilted slowly to the side. Too far to the side, further than a neck should bend. I'm cold, she said. The voice matched the one we'd been hearing. But now that we could see her lips move, something didn't sync. Her mouth opened half a second before the sound came out. Like a bad video call. Cole's hands trembled slightly. That's one of the passengers. Thermal? I asked. Ramirez's face had gone pale. She's reading at negative temperature. That's not possible, Brooks said. Nothing living reads below ambient cold. Nothing. The woman took another step forward. And that's when I saw her shadow. We had 6 light sources aimed at her. She should have cast overlapping shadows. Instead, she cast dozens. Thin, jagged silhouettes branching behind her like broken spider legs. And they weren't following her movement. They were moving on their own. Back up, I ordered. She didn't stop. I can see you, she said softly. You came to help. Hollis fired. 3 controlled shots center mass. The bullets hit. I saw impact, but there was no blood. No flinch. Just a subtle jerk in her body, like someone nudged a mannequin. She kept walking. Brooks fired next, then Cole. The woman's skin rippled where the round struck, but it didn't tear. Then she smiled. Her mouth opened wider. Wider. Far beyond the shape of her jaw. And inside, there was nothing. No tongue, no throat, just darkness, absolute black. The shadows behind her surged forward. Keen stepped past me. Now, he said calmly. Hollis launched a flashbang. The explosion lit the forest in white fire. When my vision cleared, she was gone. No body, no blood, no tracks in the snow, just a faint indentation where she'd stood. Ramirez scanned wildly. They pulled back, he said. Cold spots at 30 meters now. The circle had widened. They weren't attacking. They were observing. Brooks was breathing too fast. "What was that?" he asked. No one answered. Because none of us had language for it. Keene looked at the indentation in the snow. "They're mimics," he said. "That's not a real word," Hollis snapped. "It is tonight." Cole checked her pulse unconsciously. "What do they want?" she whispered. Keene didn't hesitate. "Access." The wind picked up suddenly. Or maybe it hadn't been wind before, and this was what wind was supposed to sound like. Branches creaked. Snow shifted. Ramirez frowned at his screen. "They're moving again." "How many?" I asked. "Too many." Shapes began forming between the trees, not stepping forward fully, just visible enough to see outlines. Human outlines. At least 20, maybe more. All standing still, watching. One of them lifted an arm and waved. It was Brooks, standing 20 meters away. Perfect copy. Same gear, same stance. "Hey guys," it called casually. "You should see this." The real Brooks froze beside me. "That's not me," he whispered. The copy smiled. Its mouth opened slightly wider than it should. "Come here," it said. "You don't want to miss this." And then, one by one, more shapes stepped forward. Cole, Ramirez, Hollis, even me. Each copy slightly wrong in posture, in timing, in breath, mirroring us imperfectly. The forest was full of us, watching us, learning. And that's when I realized something that made my stomach turn. They weren't trying to kill us. They were practicing. No one spoke for a full minute. The copies just stood there, heads tilted, studying. Then, slowly, in perfect unison, they all smiled and stepped back into the dark. Ramirez's monitor went blank. No cold spots, no voids, just normal forest. Brooks turned toward me. "Sergeant, how do we know?" He didn't finish, but I knew the question. How do we know the real us are still real? I didn't answer, because I didn't know. And the worst part? For just a second, when I saw my copy standing there, I couldn't remember moving into position. Not clearly, not confidently. Just a flicker of doubt. Like maybe I hadn't. Like maybe I'd already stepped forward once and didn't remember stepping back. We didn't talk about the copies. Not right away. There's a point in high-stress situations where your brain makes a decision for you. Either you process what just happened, or you keep moving. If you stop, you spiral. So we moved. "Objective is still the crash site," I said quietly. "Stay tight. No one breaks formation." No one argued. The forest felt different now. Not silent anymore. It wasn't loud either. But there was a presence to it. A sense of pressure. Like walking underwater where every step feels slower than it should. Ramirez kept scanning. "No cold signatures," he reported. "Just normal terrain." "That's worse," Brooks muttered. He wasn't wrong. At least when we could see them on thermal, we knew where they were. Now it felt like we were blind. Keene walked slightly ahead of me. His posture hadn't changed since first contact. Calm. Controlled. Too controlled. "You've seen this before," I said quietly. He didn't look at me. "Something like it." "Where?" "Different valley. Different state. And..." He paused. 3 of us went in. 1 came out. That wasn't comforting. "What were they?" Cole asked from behind us. Keene took a moment before answering. They're not predators, he said. Not in the traditional sense. What does that mean? They don't chase. They don't ambush. They don't strike unless necessary. Then what do? Hollis asked. They replace. No one spoke after that. We found the first marker 20 minutes later. Orange survey tape tied to a low branch. Standard search and rescue marking. Fresh. This wasn't ours, Ramirez said. National Guard? Brooks asked. Could be. But the knot was wrong. Too precise. Too symmetrical. Like someone had studied how a human ties tape and overcorrected. Hollis shined his light lower. Scratched into the bark of the tree were 3 words. Do not furwello. The letters were deep. Jagged. Cut in haste. That's real, Cole whispered. That's panic. I knelt, brushing snow away from the base of the trunk. There were boot prints. Military issue. Size matched standard guard deployment. The prints led forward, then stopped. Just stopped. No drag marks, no scuffle, no blood, no change in stride. 1 step, then nothing. Maybe snow covered the rest, Brooks offered weakly. But the surrounding ground was undisturbed. Whatever happened to whoever left those tracks? It didn't leave a trace. Ramirez's voice trembled slightly. Sergeant, we need to reconsider pushing forward. If we turn back now, Hollis said, we walk through whatever's behind us. He was right. We all knew it. Forward wasn't safe. But backward wasn't either. Keene crouched beside the carving. They were trying to warn the next team, he said. That would be us, Brooks replied. Yes. Then why mark the trail at all? Cole asked. Why leave breadcrumbs if you don't want us following? Keene stood slowly. Because something was already wearing one of them. The implication hit hard. Someone in the guard unit might have carved the warning, and someone else might have continued placing markers afterward. Leading the next team deeper, intentionally, Brooks shifted nervously. How would we know? Keene looked directly at him. You wouldn't. We continued. Another marker appeared 50 meters ahead. Same orange tape. This time tied higher. Visible from distance. Again, wrong. Too deliberate. This tree had more carving beneath it. 4 words. They are not dead. Hollis exhaled slowly. The crash victims, or the guard team, Cole said. Or us, Ramirez whispered. That thought lingered. We hadn't confirmed the guard unit's fate. We hadn't seen bodies. No wreckage yet, either. Just forest. Just markers. Like we were being guided. Thermal spike, Ramirez said suddenly. We froze. Where? Behind us. I turned slowly. There between the trees. 5 cold voids, standing still, not approaching, not retreating, watching. Keep moving, I ordered. We advanced without breaking eye contact. The voids moved with us, maintaining distance, matching speed. Keene's voice stayed level. They're hurting. Toward what? Brooks asked. He didn't answer. The terrain sloped downward. Snow grew thinner, ground darker, less wildlife tracks, less vegetation, as if the forest itself thinned out from disinterest. Ramirez's equipment flickered. Sergeant, radiation is slightly elevated. How elevated? Not lethal. Just wrong. Wrong how? Like background noise from something organic. Organic radiation wasn't the thing. But he didn't say it jokingly. Ahead through the trees, I saw something metallic. A reflection. Angular. Broken. Bacular. Broken. We stepped into a small clearing, and there it was. The aircraft. Or what was left of it. The fuselage lay split open, half buried in churned earth. Wings twisted unnaturally. But it didn't look like a high-speed impact. It looked placed, like it had been lowered, carefully. Pieces of debris radiated outward in a near-perfect spiral pattern. Not random. Intentional. Cole whispered, "That's not crash physics. No smoke, no smell of fuel, no bodies, no blood. Just wreckage, arranged." And inside the torn-open cabin, I saw silhouettes, sitting upright in the seats, perfectly still. 9 figures, all facing forward. Brooks swallowed hard. Survivors? None of them moved. None of them breathed. Ramirez checked thermal. "They're cold," he said. "All of them." Keene stepped slightly ahead. "They're waiting." As if on cue. One of the figures inside the plane tilted its head, slowly, mechanically, then another, and another, until all 9 were staring at us, at the exact same time. No stagger, no delay, perfect synchronization. Then, they stood up together, and began walking toward us. They didn't rush us. That's what made it worse. If they had charged, screamed, moved like something feral, we could have reacted on instinct. But they walked. Calmly, stepping over twisted metal and torn fuselage like the wreckage wasn't even there. 9 figures in business clothing, coats, slacks, dress shoes. One man still wearing a loosened tie. A woman clutching what looked like a purse. All of them moving in the same rhythm. Left, right, left, right. Perfect synchronization. "Hold fire," I said. Hollis tightened his grip on his rifle. "You sure? No sudden movements. I want to see what they do." The first figure stepped out of the broken aircraft door and onto the snow. No crunch. No shift in weight. Just a quiet, smooth transition. Ramirez checked thermal again. "Still negative," he whispered. "They're voids." Cole stepped slightly forward, voice steady but cautious. "Identify yourselves." The central figure, the man in the loosened tie, tilted his head. "Too far. Too slow." "We are here," he said. The voice was layered, like several voices speaking at once, slightly out of sync, not loud, not threatening, just wrong. "You were on the aircraft," I said. "What happened?" The man blinked. Both eyes closed at the exact same speed. Opened at the exact same speed. Opened at the exact same speed. "There was a descent," he replied calmly. "We were called." "Called by who?" Brooks asked before I could stop him. The 9 figures turned their heads toward Brooks. Simultaneously, the movement was sharp, mechanical. He flinched. The man smiled. "We were called by the valley." The air seemed colder suddenly. Not temperature, pressure. Like something pushing against our ears. Cole lowered her voice. "Sergeant, this isn't right." I didn't respond. The figures continued walking forward, stopping about 20 feet from us, close enough to see detail. Their skin had a strange texture. Not pale, not gray, just slightly translucent, like wax held up to light. The woman with the purse raised her arm. Her wrist bent backward slightly farther than it should have. "Thank you for coming," she said. Her lips moved normally, but the sound came half a beat later. "We were lonely. Hollis couldn't hold it anymore. He fired 3 controlled shots into the chest of the man in the tie. Impact. Visible entry. But instead of blood, the surface rippled, like a stone dropped into still water. The man looked down at the bullet holes, touched one, his finger pressed into the wound, and sank, up to the knuckle, then pulled back out. No blood, no bone, nothing inside, just hollow. "We are improving," he said softly. The 9 figures shifted slightly, not forward, sideways, forming a line, blocking the open forest behind them. Ramirez's monitor flickered violently. "Sergeant, there are more cold signatures forming around the perimeter." "How many?" 30, maybe more. Keene stepped up beside me. "They're corralling us." "For what?" Cole asked. Keene didn't answer. The man in the tie spread his arms slightly. "We learned your shapes," he said. "Your movements, your sounds." His head twitched, and suddenly, his face changed. Not fully, but subtly. His jaw adjusted, nose shifted slightly, eyes narrowed. He was copying Hollis. It wasn't perfect, but it was close. The woman beside him began adjusting too. Her posture mirrored Cole's. The others followed, each one subtly reshaping posture, stance, angle, trying to match us, practicing. "They're mapping us," Ramirez whispered. Brooks stepped back slightly. The woman with his copied stance smiled wider, and her teeth were wrong. Too many, too thin, packed too close together. "You are warm," she said. "You are filled." "Filled with what?" I asked. The man in the tie looked directly at me. "With inside." The word felt deliberate, like it meant more than we understood. Hollis raised his launcher. Permission to escalate. Before I could answer, one of the figures moved fast. Not a sprint, not a lunge. Just instant relocation. 1 second it stood in line. The next it was 10 feet closer. No transition. No blur. Just there. Cole gasped. "That's not movement." No, it wasn't. It was repositioning. Like frames skipped in reality. "They don't move through space," Keene said quietly. "They reappear in it." The figures began doing it one by one. Blinking forward. 2 feet. 5 feet. Closer. Each shift perfectly silent. Perfectly smooth. Ramirez's thermal feed died completely. Screen black. "They're inside the range," he said. Brooks fired wildly. Rounds tore into the line. The figures rippled, but didn't fall. They smiled. And then, they all spoke at once. "We are ready." The ground behind us shifted. Snow crunched. We turned. More figures stood among the trees. Human shapes, dozens, some wearing guard uniforms, some wearing civilian jackets, some wearing nothing recognizable at all. All watching, all hollow. The 9 passengers took another synchronized step forward. The man in the tie tilted his head again. "You brought new patterns," he said. "We thank you." Cole grabbed my arm. "Sergeant, we need to break through now." She was right. Another blink forward and they'd be within reach. "Northwest Gap," Ramirez said urgently. "Fewer signatures." I nodded. "On my mark. Full force. Don't stop." The 9 figures smiled wider, their mouths opening slightly too far. The man in the tie whispered, "You are already inside." And then they blinked forward again. Too close. "Now!" I shouted. We opened fire. Flashbangs exploded. Gunfire roared. Smoke filled the clearing. And we ran. Not because we were winning, but because staying meant becoming. Branches whipped past us. Snow kicked up behind our boots. The forest swallowed the crash site. The gunfire echoed and faded. Ramirez risked a glance at his monitor mid-sprint. "They're following," he said breathlessly. "How many?" "All of them." I didn't look back. Because I didn't want to see if one of us wasn't running anymore. Or worse, if one of us was running slightly out of sync. We didn't stop for nearly 15 minutes. When we finally slowed in a narrow ravine, lungs burning, rifles shaking, I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All present, all breathing, all human. At least on the surface. Brooks bent over, hands on knees. Did we lose them? Ramirez checked thermal. Nothing, no cold voids, no movement, just empty forest. Kane looked at each of us slowly, his eyes lingering, studying. "Did we?" he repeated quietly. And that's when I noticed something small, something subtle. Cole's breath. It wasn't fogging in the cold air anymore, not even a little. "Cole," I said carefully, keeping my voice even, "breathe out slowly." She looked at me, confused. "I am." Her chest rose, fell, again and again. But the air in front of her face stayed clear. No fog, no condensation. Brooks noticed next. "Lieutenant," he whispered. Cole frowned. "What?" Hollis stepped closer, shining his light directly in front of her mouth. "Nothing." Ramirez's breath fogged thick and white beside her. Mine did too. But hers. Clear. "That doesn't mean anything," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Maybe I'm just not cold enough." Brooks finished weakly. We were all cold enough. Our eyelashes had frost forming. Keene moved closer. "Hold still," he said calmly. He pressed 2 fingers against the side of her neck, checking pulse. He didn't react at first, which scared me more than if he had. "Well?" I demanded. Keene's fingers remained there longer than necessary. Then he pulled them away. "It's faint." Cole stiffened. "Faint doesn't mean gone." "No," he agreed quietly. "It doesn't." Ramirez slowly lifted his thermal scanner and aimed it at her chest. The display flickered. Her body showed up, but dimmer than ours, like heat leaking out too quickly. "Sergeant," Ramirez whispered. "She's cooling." Cole took a step back. "Stop looking at me like that." No one had drawn a weapon, but the tension in the ravine was tighter than any firefight I'd ever been in. Brooks swallowed hard. "Lieutenant, when did you start feeling different?" She hesitated. "Just slightly." "I don't." Keene's eyes narrowed. "When they blinked forward," he said. "When we broke formation, did any of them touch you?" "No." "Too fast." "I don't think so." Not confidently." Hollis shifted his weight. "We can't ignore this." Cole's composure cracked for a second. "You think I'm one of them?" "No one's saying that," I replied. But we were all thinking it. The ravine felt smaller, the walls closer. Snow drifted gently down from the tree line above, catching in the beams of our lights. Keene crouched and began examining the ground. "What are you doing?" Brooks asked. "Looking for footprints." Cole's boots had left tracks when we ran in, but where she'd been standing the last few minutes. The snow beneath her looked undisturbed, not perfectly smooth, but softer, less compressed, as if her weight wasn't fully there. Ramirez stepped back instinctively. "That's not possible." Cole stared at the ground, then at us. Her voice shook for the first time. "I ran with you." "Yes," I said. "I was there." "Yes, I fired." "Yes, then I'm still me." Her eyes locked onto mine, desperate, searching for confirmation. And that was the problem. They knew how to search. They knew how to act. The man in the tie had said it clearly. We learned your shapes, your movements, your sounds. Ramirez's radio crackled suddenly. All of us flinched. Static. Then, a voice. Sergeant Mercer, report. It was Colonel Whitmore, clear as day. We stared at Ramirez. He hadn't transmitted. Repeat, the voice said. Sergeant Mercer, respond. Brooks whispered, that's command. No, Keene said. Ramirez lifted the radio slowly. Sir, he said cautiously. Silence. Then Whitmore's voice returned. You're off course. Adjust 2 degrees east. We're tracking your position. I felt ice crawl down my spine. They didn't have live GPS inside the valley. We were running dark. Sir, Ramirez said carefully, what's our extraction window? There was a pause, too long. Then, 48 hours, the voice replied. Wrong. Whitmore had said 48 hours total from deployment. We were already nearly 6 hours in. Cole noticed it too. She whispered, that's not him. The radio crackled again. You're standing next to her, the voice said calmly. All of us froze. The voice lowered slightly. She's already hollow. Cole stepped back further. I'm not, she whispered. The radio hissed. Then her own voice came through it. Perfect imitation. I'm not. The sound echoed faintly through the ravine walls. 2 Coles, one in front of us, one in the radio. Brooks stumbled backward. Turn it off, he shouted. Ramirez killed the signal. Silence slammed down. No wind, no wildlife, no echo. Just our breathing. Except, Cole still wasn't fogging. She looked at her own hands, flexed her fingers. I can feel everything, she said quietly. Keene's gaze didn't waver. That doesn't mean you're full. Her head snapped toward him. What does that even mean? He didn't answer. Because none of us truly understood. The thing wearing the passengers had said it plainly. You are warm. You are filled. Filled with what? Inside. The valley didn't kill. It emptied. Then wore what was left. Cole's expression shifted slowly. Fear first. Then something else. Resignation. What if they're right? She asked softly. No one spoke. What if I'm already halfway? She continued. What if this is what it feels like? Brooks shook his head violently. No, you're you. She smiled at him, but the smile lingered a fraction too long, and her eyes didn't move with it. Ramirez raised his thermal scanner again. Her chest was dimmer now, almost gray, not void, not yet, but fading. We can't wait, Allah said quietly. He didn't say what we all knew. The longer we stood there, the more likely something inside her was finishing. Cole looked at each of us in turn. When her gaze landed on me, it held. Sergeant, she said softly. If it's true, if I start changing, promise you won't let it walk. The word, it hung in the air. I didn't answer immediately, because promising that meant acknowledging possibility. But the valley didn't need acknowledgement. It was already working. I promise, I said finally. Cole nodded once, slowly, and then her breath fogged, just slightly. A faint cloud in the cold air. We all saw it. Ramirez's scanner brightened faintly over her chest. Her thermal signature pulsed back to normal range. Brooks exhaled shakily. She's fine. Keen didn't relax. No, he said quietly. She's stabilizing. There's a difference, and that difference sat heavy in the ravine. Because if she could fade and come back, then something inside her was still deciding, and we had no way of knowing when it would finish deciding for her. We didn't stay in the ravine. Standing still felt dangerous now, like giving the valley time to think. Move, I said quietly. We put distance between us and the crash site. No one argued. Cole walked beside me. Her breath continued fogging. Her thermal signature held steady, but none of us fully relaxed. Because once you've seen someone almost disappear in front of you, you don't unsee that. The terrain leveled out after about 15 minutes of steady movement. Snow thinned, the trees spaced wider, and then we saw the tents. 2 standard-issue National Guard field tents pitched in a small clearing, collapsed slightly under light snowfall. A portable generator sat silent beside them, fuel canisters stacked neatly. No sign of struggle, no sign of panic. Just abandoned. Brooks let out a shaky breath. This must be their recon team. Hollis scanned the perimeter. Too clean. He was right. If a team had gone missing, there would be signs. Disturbed earth. Dropped gear. Something. Instead, it looked like they had simply stepped out for a moment and never returned. Ramirez approached the generator. It's still warm, he said. My stomach tightened. How warm. Recent. Cole stepped inside the nearest tent. Gear's still here, she called. Rucksacks. Helmets. Plates. I followed her in. Sleeping bags unrolled. A half-eaten MRE on a portable stove. Steam no longer rising but not frozen solid either. A metal mug sat upright near one cot. Coffee inside. Unspilled. As if whoever held it had just set it down gently. Where are the bodies? Brooks asked quietly from outside. That was the question none of us wanted to say out loud. Keen crouched near the entrance of the second tent. Boot prints, he said. We joined him. A cluster of tracks led away from the tents. Not scattered, not frantic. Orderly, single file, like they had assembled and marched out. Together. Maybe they regrouped, Brooks offered. Ramirez shook his head slowly. The tracks stop. Stop where? Hollis asked. Keen pointed 20 feet out into the clearing. The prints went straight, then ended. All of them. No scuffle, no drag marks. Just gone. Cole swallowed. They blinked. No one corrected her. Ramirez stepped toward a small folding table near the tents. A camcorder sat on top, battery indicator blinking. Still powered. Sir, he said carefully. I walked over. Play it. He pressed the button. The screen flickered to life. The footage was shaky at first standard. Patrol recording. Snow. Trees. Casual chatter. Then the tone shifted. The guard team stood in the crash clearing, exactly where we had been. The 9 passengers stood before them. Calm. Still. Identical scene. One guard member whispered, "They're alive." The passengers blinked forward, just like they had with us. The camera jolted. Gunfire. Shouting. Then the footage stabilized. The passengers were standing closer now. One guard soldier stepped forward cautiously, reached out, touched one of them. The moment his glove made contact, his body froze, not stiffened, not shocked, just paused. Mid-motion. The camera zoomed in slightly. The soldier's breath fogged once, then stopped. He didn't fall, didn't collapse. He just stood there, eyes open, and then his skin shifted. Not violently, not dramatically, just smooth, like wax warming under a light. His posture adjusted slightly, head tilted, and when he spoke, it wasn't his voice. "Thank you," he said calmly. The camera operator gasped. The footage jerked wildly as they ran, snow flying, breathing heavy, one by one. The rest of the team vanished from frame. Not tackled, not dragged, just missing between steps. The camera operator stumbled, fell. The lens angled up toward the trees. Boots approached, stopped in front of him. The final frame showed his squad standing over him. All of them, silent, watching. And then, they smiled. The screen went black. No one spoke for several seconds. Brooks broke first. "That's impossible." Hollis's jaw clenched tight. "They don't kill you." Cole finished the thought quietly. "They overwrite you." Keene turned the camcorder off. "They empty," he corrected. Ramirez looked at him sharply. "Empty what?" Keene didn't answer immediately. Then he said, "Whatever makes you resist." The wind picked up briefly. Tents flapped. Snow drifted sideways. Brooks rubbed his arms nervously. "We need to leave, now." He wasn't wrong. Being in that camp felt like standing inside a trap already sprung. But before I could give the order, Cole stiffened beside me. "Do you hear that?" We all froze. At first, nothing. Then, faintly, footsteps, crunching snow, slow, measured. From the tree line, Hollis raised his rifle. Ramirez lifted thermal. "Multiple signatures," he whispered. "But they're warm. Warm. Not void." "Guard team?" Brooks asked hopefully. The figure stepped into view. 6 soldiers, National Guard uniforms, rifles slung, faces pale, but intact, breath fogging, eyes focused. One of them raised a hand. "Easy," he called. "We're friendly." Cole stepped forward instinctively. "Identify." "Sergeant Miller, Washington Guard," the man replied quickly. "We lost contact 2 nights ago. Equipment malfunction. We regrouped." I didn't lower my weapon. "Where were you?" "South Ridge." We circled back. Ramirez's thermal scanner showed normal heat signatures, normal breathing, normal movement. Brooks exhaled. "They're real." But I remembered the footage, the moment of contact, the pause, the smoothing, the emptying. The guard sergeant stepped closer. "You see them?" he asked quietly. "The passengers." "Yes," I said. His jaw tightened. "They're not survivors." "I know." He nodded once. "Good. Then you understand." He took another step. Cole hesitated slightly. The guard sergeant smiled. Relieved. Too relieved. And that's when I noticed something small, something subtle. All 6 of them blinked. At the exact same time. All 6 guardsmen blinked together. Not close together. Not coincidentally. Together. Same speed. Same duration. Same reopening. If you've ever watched people in conversation, you know it doesn't happen like that. Blinks are random, asynchronous, subtle. This wasn't. This was mirrored. Brooks didn't notice. He lowered his rifle slightly. "Thank God," he muttered. "Actual humans." I didn't lower mine. "Sergeant Miller," I said evenly. "Who's your commanding officer?" "Captain Harlow," he replied instantly. "First name?" A pause. Barely half a second. "James." "Wrong." I didn't know the guard roster personally, but I knew something else. When Ramirez had scanned their camp manifest earlier, I saw the name Harlow. It wasn't James. It was Rebecca. The guard sergeant's smile didn't fade. "You're cautious," he said. always. His squad behind him stood perfectly still, too still. No micro adjustments, no weight shifts, no subtle movements from cold, just statues in snow. Cole leaned slightly toward me. "Thermal still reads normal," she whispered. That meant nothing anymore. The camcorder footage had shown the shift, warm to hollow in seconds. "They're learning," Kane said quietly. The guard sergeant's eyes flicked toward him. A fraction too sharp. "Learning what?" he asked. Keen stepped forward slowly, how to answer faster. Silence settled between us. Wind drifted snow across the clearing. The 6th Guardsman's breath fogged evenly. Too evenly. Identical density. Identical rhythm. "Sergeant Mercer," the guard leader said calmly. "You saw the crash site." "Yes." "And the passengers." "Yes." "They're confused." That word caught me off guard. Confused. "They don't understand inside yet," he continued. "But they're improving." Brooks frowned. "Inside what?" The guard sergeant's smile widened slightly. "Inside you." Hollis raised his launcher. Enough. The 6 guardsmen didn't flinch, didn't adjust, didn't react to the weapon pointed at them. Cole took a step back unconsciously. Her boot left an imprint in the snow. The guard sergeant's boots did not clearly. They were there, but lighter, as if pressure wasn't fully applied. "Sergeant," Ramirez whispered, "their heart rates." I glanced at his monitor. 6 heart rate signals, all identical. Same beats per minute, same rhythm. Perfect synchronization. That doesn't happen either. Not naturally. "Back up," I ordered quietly. We began stepping backward as a unit. The guardsmen did not pursue. They simply watched. Then, the one on the far left blinked and reappeared 2 feet closer. No step, no movement. Just closer. Brooks gasped. "No." The others followed. Blink, closer. Blink, closer. 6 synchronized shifts, like pieces sliding on a board. "Fire," I shouted. Hollis launched first. The explosion tore through the clearing. Flames licked across snow. When the smoke cleared, the 6 guardsmen were still standing, uniforms slightly torn, skin rippling, but intact. Their mouths opened simultaneously. "We tried this," they said in unison. Their voices layered, 6 tones overlapping imperfectly. "It does not empty us." The one in the center stepped forward again, not blinking. Walking this time. Slow. Measured. "We are nearly stable." "Stable for what?" Cole demanded. "For outside." The word hit harder than any gunshot. Outside. Ramirez's hands trembled on his scanner. "They're trying to get past containment," he whispered. The guard sergeant nodded slightly. "You burn Valley," he said calmly. "Valley grows elsewhere." Brooks shook his head violently. "That's not how organisms work." The guardsman's head tilted. "We are not organism." Keen's jaw tightened. "You're a filter." The guardsman smiled wider. "Closer." Behind them. The forest shifted. More shapes emerged between trees. Passengers, guard copies, civilian shapes, even one that looked vaguely like Hollis, standing still, watching. The 6 guardsmen blinked forward again, within 15 feet now. "Stop!" I shouted. They stopped, compliant, patient. "Why aren't you attacking?" Brooks yelled. The central figure answered, "You are already changing." Cole stiffened beside me. Ramirez scanned her reflexively. Her heat signature flickered, just briefly, then steadied. The guard sergeant continued speaking calmly. Contact accelerates. Doubt accelerates. Fear accelerates. His eyes locked onto mine. You are progressing well. Hollis cursed under his breath. They're not here to kill us. No, Keene said quietly. They're here to measure. The 6 guardsmen began adjusting posture again. Subtle changes. Shoulders lowering. Chin angle shifting. Breathing rhythm altering. They were copying us. Live. Testing. Adapting. Brooks stumbled backward again. One of the guardsmen mirrored him instantly. Same stumble. Same hand movement. Half a second delayed. Brooks froze. The copy froze. They locked eyes. Stop copying me, Brooks shouted. The copy smiled and didn't blink. Break left, I ordered suddenly. We sprinted toward the tree line. Gunfire echoed behind us. Branches whipped across our faces. Snow kicked up under boots. The 6 guardsmen didn't chase. They didn't need to, because as we broke into the forest, more shapes were already there, standing between trees, warm on thermal, breathing evenly, mirroring our movements. The valley wasn't trying to surround us anymore. It was trying to replace angles, replace exits, replace possibilities. We ran through a narrow corridor of trees barely wide enough for single file. Ramirez nearly collided with something solid in front of him. He skidded to a stop. I almost slammed into his back. What? And then I saw it. Standing in the path ahead was me. Exact uniform. Exact gear. Exact stance. My breath. My posture. My eyes. The copy tilted its head. I tilted mine without meaning to. Its mouth opened. So did mine. And it spoke first. You're almost hollow. I hadn't meant to say that. But the words formed in my mind. Before I could stop them. Before I could tell if they were mine. The thing wearing my face didn't blink. It didn't breathe hard from the run. It didn't show strain. It just stood there in the narrow corridor of trees, blocking the path forward. Exact height. Exact build. Even the small scar above my left eyebrow was there. Brooks bumped into me from behind. "What is it?" he asked. Then he saw. Oh! That was all he managed. My copy tilted its head slightly. Not too far. Just enough to be wrong. "You hesitate," it said. The voice was mine. Tone. Pitch. Cadence. Cadence. Peach. Cadence. But there was no breath behind it. No warmth. Just sound. Hollis raised his rifle instantly. "Step aside." The copy looked at him, then back at me. "You are almost ready." "I'm not anything," I said. It smiled, and I realized something horrifying. It knew how I smiled. The exact asymmetry. The way my left cheek lifted slightly higher than the right. "Sergeant," Ramirez whispered. Voice shaking. Thermal. He didn't need to say more. I already knew. But I nodded anyway. Ramirez aimed the scanner at the copy. The screen showed a void. Not just cold, not negative, absent. As if space itself had been cut out where the body stood. "It's not even temperature," Ramirez said softly. "It's nothing." The copy took a single step forward. No crunch. No imprint. The snow didn't compress. "Stop," I ordered. It stopped. I ordered. It stopped. immediately obedient, like it was waiting for instruction, waiting to see how I would react. Brooks whispered, "How do we kill it?" Keen stepped up beside me. "You don't." "That's helpful," Hollis snapped. Keen didn't look away from the copy. "You break alignment." "Alignment with what?" Cole asked. "With the pattern." The copy's eyes flicked to Keen. Interest. That's what it looked like. Not anger, not aggression. Curiosity. "You are further along," the copy said to Keen. Keen's expression didn't change. "I know." The copy turned back to me. "You fear losing inside." "What is inside?" I demanded. It stepped closer again. 3 feet away now. If you remove resistance, there is no fear. My hands tightened around my rifle. Behind it, through the trees, I could see movement. Other shapes. Watching. Waiting. Mirroring slight shifts in our posture. "They're sinking," Ramirez said quietly. Heart rate spiking together. Not ours. Theirs. The void shapes were forming rhythm, like a shared pulse. The copy raised its hand slowly, mirroring the way I was holding my rifle, except it wasn't holding anything. Its fingers curved around empty air, and the air darkened slightly in its grip, as if something invisible existed there. "You carry tools," it said. "You believe tools protect inside." Hollis fired without warning. The round tore straight through the copy's chest, but there was no exit wound, no debris. The bullet simply vanished into the void. The copy looked down, then back up. "That does not remove," it said calmly. Cole pulled me back slightly. "Sergeant, we can't stay here." She was right. The corridor felt tighter now. The shapes behind us were shifting, not moving closer, just adjusting, matching angles, mirroring stance. The copy's head tilted again. "You doubt," it said. "Yes," I replied. "Good." That word hit wrong. Doubt accelerates emptying. Brooks let out a shaky laugh. "Emptying what? Your version of a soul?" The copy didn't respond to him. It only watched me. "You stepped forward," it said quietly. I froze. What? When? First contact. The crash site, the 9 passengers blinking forward. Had I stepped? I couldn't remember clearly. I thought I had held position, but the memory was fuzzy. Just a fraction. "You were closer than the others," the copy continued. Cole looked at me sharply. "Sergeant?" I didn't, but I wasn't certain. That was the problem. The valley didn't need to prove anything. It only needed to introduce doubt, and doubt was spreading fast. Ramirez's voice trembled. "Your heat signature just dipped." I stared at him. "What?" "Just for a second." The copy smiled wider. "You are synchronizing." "No," I said immediately. Too immediately. Keen stepped between me and the copy. His voice was calm. "Break pattern." "How?" I demanded. "Act unpredictable." That was vague, but I understood. The valley mirrored structure, mirrored behavior, mirrored rhythm. So I did something simple. I lowered my rifle. The copy mirrored instantly. I dropped it completely. The copy did the same. Then I stepped sideways. Abruptly, not forward, not backward. Sideways. The copy hesitated. Half a beat. Then shifted sideways too. Not perfectly. A fraction delayed. That was it. A gap. Small, but real. Hollis saw it. Now, he launched another explosive. This time not at the copy, but at the ground between us. The blast threw snow and debris upward. The shockwave disrupted space in front of us. For half a second, the copy flickered. Like static interference, its outline fractured. Multiple versions overlapping imperfectly. The shapes behind it flickered too. Desynchronized. Ramirez shouted. Their pulse broke. "Move!" I yelled. We bolted past the flickering copy. It didn't grab, didn't blink forward. Just stood there, glitching, as if uncertain which version to be. We sprinted deeper into the trees, branches tearing at our gear, snow crunching loud and real beneath boots. For nearly 2 minutes no one spoke. No shapes in front of us. No voids behind. Just forest. Just breathing. Real breathing. We slowed gradually. Cole grabbed my arm. "Are you okay?" I nodded, but my chest felt strange. Tight. Not from running. From something else. Ramirez checked thermal again. All of us reading normal. For now. Keene looked at me carefully. "You hesitated back there." "I know." "You remembered something that didn't happen." "I know." The worst part wasn't the copy. It wasn't the void chest. It wasn't the synchronized guard. It was this. For one brief second in that corridor. When it said I had stepped forward, I believed it. We didn't stop running until the trees thinned again. No crash debris, no guard tents, just forest stretching in every direction. Snow fell lightly now. Calm, peaceful. Like nothing unnatural had ever stepped between those trees. That was the most unsettling part. The valley didn't look wrong. It just felt wrong. Ramirez slowed first. "I need a second," he said, breathing hard. We formed a loose circle automatically, weapons outward. Kane turned slowly, scanning with that equipment. Brooks bent over, hands on knees. Cole leaned against a tree, steadying herself. Hollis checked ammo count. Routine. Normal. Human. That's what we clung to. "Thermals?" I asked. Ramirez lifted the scanner. Clear. No voids. No voids. Heart rates. Spiked. But normal. He hesitated. "What?" "There's a fluctuation." "In who?" "In all of us." "How?" "Like a delay." That word again. Delay. Explain. Ramirez swallowed. "It's like our pulses are echoing." "Echoing how?" He turned the screen toward me. Each of our heart rate lines showed a faint secondary spike behind the main one. Half a beat off. A ghost rhythm. "That's interference," Brooks said quickly. "I thought so too," Ramirez replied. "But it's consistent across all 6 of us." The ghost pulse stayed exactly half a second behind. Matching. Mirroring. Cole's face paled slightly. "They're syncing with us." "No," Hollis snapped. "That's paranoia." Keene didn't dismiss it. "They don't need proximity," he said quietly. "Then what do they need?" Brooks asked. "Axe." The word hung heavy again. Inside. Filled, emptying. All the same theme. I rubbed my temples. "Everyone check yourself. Cuts. Scratches. Anything." We did. Gloves off. Jackets opened. Skin examined under flashlights. Nothing obvious. No wounds. No strange marks. Just frost-nipped fingers and shallow branch scratches from running. Brooks exhaled. See, we're fine. That's when Ramirez looked confused. Wait, what? I asked. He checked his wristwatch, then mine, then Cole's. What time do you have? He asked. E.18, I said. E.18, he said. E.18, Cole confirmed. E.18, Brooks echoed. Ramirez's face drained of color. That's not right. Why? He held up his GPS clock. It's 0219. Silence. My stomach dropped. That's not possible. We left the guard camp at approximately 0110, Ramirez said. We ran maybe 15 minutes. 20 at most, Hollis added. Rang. Ramirez swallowed. That was over an hour ago. No one spoke. Snow continued falling softly. Peaceful. Deceptively peaceful. You're saying we lost an hour? Brooks asked quietly. Ramirez nodded. More like 59 minutes. Cole shook her head slowly. No, that's equipment drift. Ramirez didn't look convinced. All of our analog watches match, he said. But the satellite clock doesn't. Could be signal distortion, Hollis argued. Ramirez looked up. Satellite time doesn't distort by an hour. I tried to recall the run. The corridor. The copy. The explosion. The sprint. It felt like minutes. Not 60. Memory gaps? Kane asked. We looked at him. You remember the entire run? He continued calmly. Yes, Brooks said instantly. I hesitated. The corridor was clear. The flicker. The sprint. But after that, it blurred. I remembered trees, snow, breathing. But the sequence felt compressed. Cole frowned slightly. I don't remember slowing down, she said softly. Neither do I, Hollis admitted. Ramirez shook his head. They didn't need to touch us. They just needed us to pass through, Keene finished. A cold realization settled over me. The valley didn't only empty. It rewrote, subtly, not removing whole memories, just trimming edges, altering timestamps, introducing doubt. Brooks laughed nervously. You're all overthinking this. It's adrenaline. Maybe it was. But then Ramirez spoke again. There's something else. What now? He aimed the thermal scanner slowly at each of us, one by one, all normal, until he reached me. The screen flickered, just for a second, a faint dimming at the center of my chest. Then normal. Do it again, I said. He did. Nothing. Clear, normal heat signature. You saw that, he whispered. Yes. Brooks looked between us. What? Nothing, I said quickly. But Cole had seen my face. She stepped closer. What did he see? Interference, I replied. Her eyes didn't leave mine. Where? Center mass. The silence after that felt heavier than anything else we'd experienced. Because center mass isn't just chest, it's core, heart, lungs, inside. Keene watched me carefully. You hesitated earlier, he said quietly. I know. You questioned whether you stepped forward. I know. And now there's missing time. Brooks shook his head violently. No, that's coincidence. Coincidences don't stack like this, Ramirez whispered. Hollis adjusted his grip on his rifle. Sergeant, I knew what he was thinking. The same thing I was. If something had happened in that missing hour, if something had blinked forward, if something had touched, we wouldn't remember it. That was the point. Everyone line up, I ordered. They obeyed instantly. Weapons lowered but ready. Call out something personal, I said. Brooks frowned. What? Something only you'd know. Like what? Something specific. A memory. Brooks hesitated, then said, "My dog's name was Ranger." Was, Cole asked. "He died last year." Cole nodded slowly. "College roommate's name was Tara. She stole my boots once." Hollis said, "My father broke his hand teaching me how to punch." Ramirez swallowed. "My mom hates thunderstorms." Keene paused. "My first deployment wasn't recorded." We looked at him. He didn't elaborate. Then they all looked at me. I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. A memory surfaced. My childhood bedroom. Blue walls, posters, but when I tried to focus, it blurred. Like static. "Sergeant," Cole whispered. I forced something out. "My first car was a red Civic." It sounded right. Familiar. But distant. Brooks frowned slightly. "You told me it was black." My stomach dropped. "No," I said quickly. "Yes," he insisted. "You said black. You joked it looked like a hearse." The others looked at me. And for the first time, I wasn't sure which version was true, because in my mind, both were. "Black," Brooks repeated carefully. "You said it was black." I stared at him. In my head, I could see the car clearly. Red paint, faded on the hood, small dent on the passenger door. But as I focused, the color shifted, darkened, almost like wet asphalt. Black. The memory didn't feel replaced. It felt layered. Like two slides projected over each other. "I remember both," I said slowly. Brooks stepped back slightly. "That's not possible." Cole's voice was tight. "Memory distortion under stress is normal." But she didn't sound convinced. Ramirez checked the time again. Still 0219. My watch still read 0118. The ghost pulse still flickered faintly on his scanner. Keene stepped closer to me. "Describe the inside of the car," he said calmly. "It had gray seats," I replied instantly. "Fabric or leather?" "Fabric." "What was hanging from the rearview mirror?" I paused. Something had been there. I knew that. But the image wouldn't sharpen. "A scent tag?" "No." "A chain?" "No." It flickered between both. "I don't know," I admitted. Keene nodded slightly. "Do you remember driving it?" "Yes." "Where?" Silence. Highway. Rain. Night. But it felt distant. Detached. Like watching someone else behind the wheel. "Sergeant," Cole whispered. I didn't look at her, because I didn't want to see what she was thinking. Brooks shook his head. "This is ridiculous. He's just shaken." Hollis wasn't as certain. "You hesitated," he said quietly. "I know. You never hesitate." That wasn't entirely true, but in his voice it sounded like fact. Ramirez swallowed. "There's more." "Of course there is," Hollis muttered. Ramirez turned the scanner toward me again. "Your ghost pulse, it's stronger." "How much stronger?" "It's matching amplitude now." "Meaning?" "The secondary beat was almost as strong as my real one. Two rhythms, slightly out of sync, but converging." Keene spoke quietly. "They're not copying you." "Then what?" Brooks snapped. "They're phasing you." The word hit wrong. Phasing implied transition. Not duplication, not replacement. Transition. I felt fine. Breathing normal. Thinking normal. Thinking normal. But there was a pressure in my chest. Not pain. Just density. Like something settling into place, Cole stepped directly in front of me. "Look at me," she said firmly. I did. Her breath fogged. Her eyes were steady. "You're still you," she said. "How do you know?" "Because you're scared." I wasn't sure that was proof anymore. The guard copies had looked calm. The passengers had looked patient. But what if fear was part of the process? What if doubt accelerated emptying? The copy had said that clearly. "You doubt." Good. Doubt accelerates emptying. Ramirez's radio crackled suddenly. All of us flinched. Static. Then, a familiar voice. Mine. "Unit is stable," it said calmly over the radio. "Progressing." My blood ran cold. "That's not me," I said instantly. The voice continued. "Subject Mercer, approaching completion." "Completion?" Brooke stared at me. "Tell me that's not your voice." "It's not." The cadence was right. The tone was right. Even the slight rasp at the end of certain words. It was perfect. Ramirez turned the radio off. Silence returned, but the damage was done. Cole stepped back slightly. Just a few inches. But enough. Hollis shifted his stance, not aiming at me. Not yet. But ready. "You heard that?" Brooks whispered. "Yes," I said. "And it sounded like you." "I know." Keen's gaze never left my face. "Describe something recent," he said. "What?" "The corridor?" "The copy." "The explosion." I lowered my rifle. It mirrored. Hollis detonated ground contact. It flickered. Before that. It said I stepped forward. "Did you?" "No." The word came out firm. But my mind replayed the crash site. The passengers blinking. The guard camcorder footage. I saw myself standing in formation. There was a flicker, a gap, a frame missing. Ramirez checked the time again. His face went pale. "It's 02:20 now." "Okay," Brooks said. "That means our watches are still frozen." We all looked at our wrists.